This year I've been on a quest to watch a lot of movies. Specifically, I had set myself a goal of 300, but I hit that goal too early, so I bumped it up to 365. At the time of recording this, I'm 5 movies away from hitting that goal. But throughout the year, I have watched a lot of strange movies, a lot of strange, sometimes unsettling, but always wonderful movies. I acknowledge that my channel here on YouTube, the content I put out is not always the most normal of content. And so going with that thought, I thought people might appreciate me giving a list of some weird and wonderful things that you could watch and check out. So in no particular order, I'm about to start listing to you some pieces of media that you should check out if you enjoy weird things. Now please be aware I will be giving a little bit of light spoilers. These light spoilers will be basically just enough for you to know whether or not you want to watch whatever it is I'm mentioning. Wrong is a movie I just watched a couple of days ago. It's about a man whose dog gets kidnapped. And if you want to see a movie where a private investigator uses mind connection techniques to connect to the bowels and the turds of a kidnapped dog so that then we can watch a visual rendering of this on a computer screen so we can see the turd moving through the dog's bowels and falling out onto the grass and then see who kidnapped the dog, then this is the movie for you. If you're Swedish, you might like World of Glory. Or if you just like really dry and absurd humor. World of Glory is a short film, it's only 10-15 minutes long, by a Swedish director named Roy Andersson. This same guy has a lot of feature-length movies, they're all very sort of low-budget productions, and they're all in the same vein as World of Glory. World of Glory being my personal favourite. If you enjoy World of Glory, I suggest checking out the rest of his movies. My personal favourite scene is when the man's having a breakdown at communion and grabs the entire thing of wine and starts drinking it, almost drowning himself. Videodrome is a bit of a cult classic, and all I will say to this is VHS Ussy. Titane by filmmaker Julia Ducournau is a very strange film. All I will tell you here is that this main character in the movie actually has sex with a car. Take that how you will. The Lobster is one of my favourite films of all time by filmmaker Yorgos Lanthimos. It takes place in a world where it is illegal to be single, and people who are single are sent to a hotel. And in this hotel, you have 30 days to find yourself a new life partner. If you do not manage to do that within those days, you get turned into an animal of your choosing and sent out into the wild to live the rest of your life. The Bothersome Man was not my favourite film ever, but I had to include it here. Sometimes I hear music coming from inside of my walls too, but it's actually just the little rats with clogs on bothering me while I'm trying to sleep. They should take their tap dancing recitals somewhere else. Tetsuo the Iron Man is probably one of the hottest films I've ever seen in all the wrong ways. My hot take here is that the drill penis is actually very erotic. Swiss Army Man is a movie that is literally all about a farting corpse. If that sounds like your thing, check it out. Slotherhouse is a cinematic masterpiece that I watched from this year. It is a slasher, except it's about a sloth. I don't want to spoil too much of this one, but I probably will. There is a scene in this movie where the sloth uses a laptop, and using the laptop he sees something very upsetting to him, and it makes him very mad and he slams it closed, and it was the most I had laughed all year. That was until a few scenes later when this sloth actually gets in a car, drives the car to a hospital, takes a selfie with a dying woman in bed, and then smothers her to death with her own pillow. Raw by Julia Ducournau is a recent addition to my favourite films of all time list. It's a bit of a different take on cannibalism. And if you want to see a strange French girl eating raw chicken out of her fridge in the middle of the night, check it out. Taking a break from movies for a second, check out Preacher if you haven't already. I've never read the source material and maybe I'll do that one day, but this TV show is absolutely fantastic. It is just packed with weird and wonderful scenes. Basically, the entire show revolves around a preacher who goes looking for God because God has gone missing from heaven because he has gone on vacation to earth. In the process, the preacher ends up with a power, the Word of God, a power that basically allows him to command anyone to do anything he wants them to. If you are religious, you may not enjoy this. You may be very offended. Especially after you see God dressed up in some fetish dog costume. William Burroughs' Naked Lunch is an underrated masterpiece that I really need to rewatch. I also intend on reading this book at some point. I've had it sitting on my shelf for months, meaning to read it, but I just haven't had the time. I say I haven't had the time, but that's actually a filthy lie. The truth is, I forgot about it. If inhaling pest poisons to get high sounds like a fun time to you, then check out this movie. Lamb is a weird little Icelandic movie that is kind of boring for the most part, but is kind of worth watching just for the couple of really weird, shocking scenes. Let's just say that this woman raises a lamb like a human child, and the lamb's actually half human. Think of my short film Behooved, but about lambs. Next up, we have this year's Infinity Pool with Mia Goth and Alexander Skarsgård. The third act of this movie kind of falls flat a little bit, but it was still one of my favourite movies all year this year. Mia Goth is absolutely unhinged here, and I'm here for it. Brandon Cronenberg, you did a great job here. I'm not going to spoil anything about this one. Dream Scenario I just saw last week. This is a new Nicolas Cage movie, and this is just about Nicolas Cage being this boring professor who one day wakes up and his life has changed because for some reason everyone in the world has started to dream about him. Things suddenly take a turn for the worst when people start having nightmares about him. And finally, one of the weirdest, if not the weirdest, and most unhinged movie I've ever seen in my entire life, Dogtooth. This is a movie I am not going to spoil for you, but I cannot recommend enough. All I will say is that I watched this movie for the first time with a girl, and it was only our second time meeting, and we were sitting on my couch watching this thing, and the whole way through we were both like, what the fuck? Just constant, what the fuck? I rewatched it later with a friend, and it was the same again. I'd forgotten how much of a what the fuck this movie was. This is one of those that the less you know going into it, the better. And afterwards, you're going to be Googling, like, what the hell was going on here? What was that all about? Anyway, as I said, can't recommend that one enough. And there you go. There's 16 weird and wonderful things for you to check out. I watch a lot of movies, I watch a lot of shows. If you want to keep up with what I'm watching, you can check out my Tracked account or my Letterboxd account, which are both linked down below, also at rarerag.com. I have a whole list on those websites as well, called Wonderfully Weird, where I do update and put lots of weird movies on there. I think there's like 35 or something currently on my Wonderfully Weird list. And if you are interested in any more like movie or TV show opinions, I started a couple of months back a little TikTok channel, Rare Rag Reviews. And on there, basically every time I watch a movie, I make a quick little video saying what my thoughts were. Anyway, tell me your favourite weird and wonderful pieces of media in those comments down below. Until next time, goodbye, freaks.